Thanks for tuning in to a very special edition of SHS TV. Every Sunday from this pulpit and sanctuary, our very own Bishop Larry Trotter delivers the most powerful word, and that's exactly what you tuned in for. If you're seeking prayer or encouragement, you can call our church right now at 773-721-6178, or you can visit our website at www.sweetholyspiritonline.org. And now, exactly what you tuned in for, our very own Bishop Larry Trotter. Take it away, Bishop.
Now, 1 Samuel chapter 4, you got it, say praise the Lord. Verse 21 and 22. And she named the child Ichabod. The glory is departed from Israel because the ark of God was taken, and because of her father-in-law and her husband. And she said, the glory is gone from Israel because the presence has been taken. You may be seated. And the word of the Lord is blessed. May God be glorified. May we be edified. And may the devil be horrified. I want to talk about the Ichabod generation.
Mike Wilmer.
Holiday season.
Holiday season, bitch. Don't play with me. Bad bitches, they stay with me. Wanna pop bottles all night with me, all day with me, okay with me. Don't play with me. Bad bitches, they stay with me. Wanna pop bottles all night with me, all day with me, okay with me.
Yeah, it's okay with me. Yeah, it's okay with me. It's okay with me. Yeah, it's okay with me.
All right. No, y'all didn't tune into the wrong station. This is Sweet Holy Spirit. I believe it was the late A.W. Tozer who stated in his book, Paths to Power, that any group of people who reduce the righteousness and holiness of God are headed to the wastelands of time. Anytime a society decides to be ungodly or don't recognize God, they're headed to the wastelands of time. Now let me make this disclaimer. My attire today is not to make fun of the Rastafarians nor of the Jamaicans, my brothers Jamaicans, but it's simply an illustrated message to get my point across. Before I get too far, I wonder, is there anybody here that's got a whole lot to thank God for? It's the third Sunday in August and you don't have everything that you want. But two or three of us got to still hear praise. Yeah. As I said to the 7:30 church and hopefully the 11:30 church, I stand with the prophets of old, particularly Jeremiah, who says to us, it is because of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed. The songwriter goes on to say they are new every morning. I told you, and I'm excited, I'm going to receive the Lifetime Achievement Award on Tuesday from Chicago Public Schools. It's a good thing because it shares that some of us who didn't go to private school made it to be something here or there or did something. But yeah, any people that are product of Chicago schools, you know I'm speaking of. I told you the other week when we were in session with the teachers and what have you, that our children, 50% of children that are in 4th and 5th grade are already sexually active. Try it again. 50%, that's half of the children in 4th and 5th grade have had some kind of sex. One of our dearest members brought her son to me back here in the beginning of the summer. She didn't want to come to church, so we met, and he was 11 years old, and he was already sexually active. At 11 years old, he was already drinking. At 11 years old, he had already smoked a little weed. At 11 years old, he had already missed curfew. And on top of all that, he was rebellious to his mother. About an hour and a half had passed. I was over to Kakula's my Mexican spot over there in South Chicago on Commercial. About an hour and a half, after about an hour and a half, he began to speak. And he said to me some words I'll never forget. He said, "Bishop, this is just what we do." Are y'all praying? He said, "Maybe y'all didn't do it back in old school days, but this is what's up." Something about those words coupled with his attitude had me to the point of wanting to cross over the table and beat his... Yeah. I almost messed up. I mean, you know, because, and I think it's 2 or 3 of us that was raised in the kind of houses. I still have an issue the way some young people talk to their parents. No, this has been family month, and I talked about Lord Save Our Home, and now this Ichabod generation, but now next Sunday I want to talk about the grandmama element, because there's some stuff that we learn in grandmama's house that we might need to put back in our house. If you even thought about talking to your mama the wrong way. Anybody ever had a backhand slap? Or one of them when you said something, mom said, Ichabod generation does not respect anybody, and I had some issues, and I knew I would go to jail, but I got a few of y'all that would have bailed me out, I think. But he was saying in essence to me and to his mama that this is the way of this generation. And my mom would say stuff like, I'll beat the life out of you and put it back in you. You know, I was scared of that woman. You know, you just didn't do certain things because of the respect and the fear, even as it was, that we have of our parents. I call it Ichabod. Say that word with me, Ichabod. It comes from the text here. The Ichabod means there is no glory, which means the part of God has been extracted. Lord help us. The glory is gone. There is no presence or recognition of he who sits high and looks low, he who died for us. Y'all do know that we lost some stuff over these past decades. And this message may be directed to young people, but don't reduce it to that, because I got just as many issues with older people and adults. Because we just do any doggone thing we want to do, and we expect God to bless it. I'm glad I'm home. And so, you know, I need to let you know that, and hear my heart. There's a lot of stuff going on, but it's going to take all of us to awaken in order to do something about it. I think that the preaching moment is not just to make people shout, make them feel good, but it ought to make you think. You know, have we allowed stuff to go on too long? Have we sat silent too long? The writer of Ecclesiastes, Solomon, says it's a terrible thing when the young people shout and the old people weep. 313 people have been killed in Chicago this year. I don't know, that's scary to me. The 2012 figures, according to the redeye.com, which tracks monthly numbers of murders, 294 people had already been killed by July 23rd. 37 had been murdered. Starting with 40 murders in January, the numbers fluctuated and barely dipped below 1 per day. 1 person per day in 2012 has been killed in Chi-Town. 28 in February, 50 in March, 41 in April, 51 in May, and 47 in June. Memorial Day weekend, 36 people were shot down in a 3-day period. And I don't know how you think about it, but that could not be glory. So it has to be Ichabod. Because killing ain't no more related to just gangs. People just doing random stuff. wrong neighborhood, wrong attitude, they just shoot you down. In a couple of weeks, TBN has asked me to join them for a prayer vigil on a national telecast in Aurora, Colorado, to minister to those families whose family members just went to see Batman at the movie and left many of them dead, and several of them still on life support, struggling for their lives. And that's scary to me, and I need y'all's prayers. But what is even more difficult, I don't know what else can I say other than that, Jesus is still in control, because we don't know when the next crazy person gonna get up and shoot up a bunch of people. When I was praying on Tuesday night, and I hope you bring yours that were not here, to anoint the young people, because, we had in the past 2 years 3 major killings on college campuses. Started in Colorado, went down to Carolina, and then up here in Illinois. And your kids are scared to go to school. You ask the average educator here, the truth be told, the average person in 8th grade does not see his or herself beyond high school. And I'm not talking about college, I'm talking about just being alive. Molestation is at an all-time high. Morality is at an all-time low. Dreams and visions are almost no more. Faith has been extracted from society. It seems like in every area of our life there is the Ichabod. Glory's gone. Have you ever noticed that in this present day time, Walgreens and CVS, you can't buy cold medication without somebody unlocking the thing? Why? Because the industry now shows and recognizes that when you mix it with certain things, it can create the type of high that you get from meth. And so, I went to get some Theraflu. And they said, you got to wait for the pharmacist. I ain't got no prescription. I thought, no, but you got to show an ID before you get Theraflu or Alka-Seltzer Plus. Y'all ain't seen that? All of a sudden everything is encaged and in lock. You can't even get sinus medicine, Zyrtec, without an ID. There's all kinds of new drugs on the street and all kinds of methods that get us high so we won't have to deal with the realities of life. I was reading an article the other day on the latest. They got new date rape drugs, stuff they can drop in your drink, be it alcoholic or non-alcoholic. I know this is a safe church, so I'll say non-alcoholic. But when Bert them were back in their day, they told me about it. Well, back in their day, and Tinker's, back in Elaine's day, they used to call it put a Mickey in your drink. All y'all that know Mickey say yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But now there are several different pills that people use for different kinds of responses, and they'll drop it in your Coke or whatever you're drinking. We live in a time where there is a new, with rapidity, this thing is growing, and there are new drugs on the street every day. You don't even have to have a prescription. You can go online and get something. As long as you pay double and what have you, you can get stuff online. I finally got some insurance, some health insurance, and it scared me because the lady said, you don't even have to go to the doctor. You can talk to them online and they'll write you a prescription. How is somebody going to write me a prescription and ain't examine me? Ichabod says the order is off. So I'm going to name the boy Ichabod because I ain't got no hope. His daddy and my daddy-in-law messed up. Unfortunately, we live in a time where there's been a reduction of core values. I'm amazed when I go to small towns how everybody still speak. And in Chicago and New York, places people don't speak. It's cold. Unfortunately, we live in a time where there's been a diminishing of our prayer lives. Unfortunately, we live in a time where the ways of men are waxed cold, and in our hearts, we are not right or righteous. I said something. I was preaching for Hazel Perry in Yonkers on Thursday and Friday, and I said something to the church. I said, you know what? I really love God. I'd rather be right than to be rich.